Tournament officials usually prepare for everything: crowd control, court schedules, security. What they didn't expect was a simple practice session turning into a bigger spectacle than the matches themselves. Eala hasn't even played a competitive point at the 2026 Miami Open yet, and somehow she's already the center of attention. It's left the WTA looking a bit unprepared for just how much buzz she's generating. Which raises the question, are they doing enough to spotlight her, or are they still treating her rise like an unexpected moment? Now, think about what a practice session is supposed to be. Normally, it's low-key, a chance for players to fine-tune their game, maybe with a handful of fans watching quietly from the stands. It's not meant to feel like a headline event, but in this case, that's exactly what it's become. A typical practice session barely registers on the tournament radar. A few spectators drift by, maybe some dedicated fans stop along the fence to watch for a while. The player goes through their routine, an hour of hitting, working on patterns with their coach, a bit of stretching, then quietly heads back to the locker room. The pattern really is that clear. A young player, a compelling story, and an audience growing fast in regions tennis hasn't historically captured. The difference is in the shape of the rise. Emma Raducanu had a 2-week explosion at the 2021 US Open. Brilliant, unforgettable, but concentrated. Eala's momentum has stretched across months, continents, and multiple events, and it hasn't cooled after setbacks. It's kept building. And that comes down to something rankings and trophies don't fully measure: connection. A real, emotional connection between player and audience, especially one that feels personal. The Philippines, with more than 110 million people and a deeply passionate sports culture, has long rallied behind boxing and basketball stars. Tennis never quite had that central figure at the elite level, until Eala. When she made her run at the 2025 Miami Open, beating players like Madison Keys and Jelena Ostapenko as a wild card ranked 140th in the world, the reaction from the Philippine sports community wasn't casual interest. It was collective investment. It felt like the arrival of someone to rally around, not just for one match or one tournament, but as a long-term presence on the global stage. No one changes their plans. No one rushes across the grounds to catch a glimpse. Security stays relaxed because at the end of the day, it's just practice, background activity at an event where the real focus is on match play. That's the norm for almost everyone at the 2026 Miami Open. And then there's Eala.
Water bottle car. Where are you guys from?
Huh?
Where are you from?
LA.
Okay. So you name nice little 2-hour drive. What's your name, man?
Andrew.
Last name?
Rivera.
So you came all the way here. Are you gonna get to watch your matches or?
I've been coming to this tournament for 10 years.
Oh wow! So now you have someone to cheer for.
Finally have a Filipino out here.
Awesome.
You get a Layla selfie also?
Fans showed up early just to lock in a good view. They lined the fences, filled the small bleachers, and had their phones ready before she'd even hit a single ball. Cameras were rolling from the start. Some people reportedly waited more than an hour just to watch a warm-up. Meanwhile, on nearby courts, higher-ranked players with more titles, longer careers, and far bigger resumes were practicing in front of noticeably smaller crowds. That contrast is the part that really stands out. You had established names drawing modest attention, while a 20-year-old seated 32nd was creating enough buzz to force tournament staff to adjust on the fly. That's not how things are supposed to work in tennis. It's not how rankings, seedings, or legacy typically translate into fan interest. What happened on those practice courts in Miami was something different. It was fans making their own call, completely independent of rankings or reputation, and showing exactly who they wanted to see. No apologies needed. The point stands on its own. At a tournament like this, the WTA's role is to manage the product, assign the right courts, spotlight the right players, and keep everything running smoothly so the event feels seamless. What they weren't ready for was a player whose presence at a practice court could reshape how thousands of fans move around the venue before the tournament even begins. Suddenly, you have scheduling conversations shifting, court assignments being reconsidered, quiet, behind-the-scenes discussions about crowd control that normally wouldn't exist for a warm-up session. That kind of reaction doesn't come from the standard playbook, because that playbook is built around rankings. Top seeds get top billing. Seed 1 takes center court. Seed 2 gets the next biggest stage. But moments like this don't follow that script. The rest fall into place after that. It's a clean, logical system, one that works
online, and it stops looking like a one-off moment or regional hype. A simple day-in-the-life training video from Eala pulls close to 100,000 views. Not match highlights, not a grand slam run, just routine preparation footage. That's the kind of content most players post and move on from quietly, because the numbers aren't worth celebrating. For her, it's performing like she's already a global star with years of built-in audience momentum. And that's the real signal here. The engagement isn't tied to results, headlines, or specific moments. It's consistent across everything she shares. That kind of baseline interest is incredibly valuable. It's what sponsors chase, what brands invest heavily to tap into. More importantly, it's not something you can fake or fast-track through marketing alone. It exists because a large, growing audience genuinely wants to follow her journey as it unfolds in real time. The Australian Open earlier this year delivered the kind of data point the tennis world couldn't ignore. Eala's pre-tournament press conference pulled in over 173,000 views at the same event featuring names like Novak Djokovic, Aryna Sabalenka, and Iga Swiatek. A press conference, just sitting answering questions, outperforming players with stacked Grand Slam resumes built over years at the very top of the sport. That number wasn't random. It was a confirmation of something that had been quietly building and had now reached a point where it couldn't be dismissed. The comparison that kept surfacing in tennis circles was Emma Raducanu during the 2021 US Open. Raducanu arrived as a qualifier and won the entire tournament without dropping a set, one of the most statistically improbable runs tennis has ever seen. That story didn't just capture tennis fans, it pulled in a completely new audience. Brands rushed in, media coverage exploded. For a brief moment, the sport expanded beyond its usual reach because something unexpected cut through in a way traditional promotion never could. So when analysts draw parallels between that moment and what Eala is building now, it's not exaggeration, it's pattern recognition. The pattern really is that clear. A young player, a compelling story, and an audience growing fast in regions tennis hasn't historically captured. The difference is in the
shape of the rise. Emma Raducanu had a 2-week explosion at the 2021 US Open. Brilliant, unforgettable, but concentrated. Eala's momentum has stretched across months, continents, and multiple events, and it hasn't cooled after setbacks. It's kept building. And that comes down to something rankings and trophies don't fully measure: connection. A real emotional connection between player and audience, especially one that feels personal. The Philippines, with more than 110 million people and a deeply passionate sports culture, has long rallied behind boxing and basketball stars. Tennis never quite had that central figure at the elite level, until Eala. When she made her run at the 2025 Miami Open, beating players like Madison Keys and Jelena Ostapenko as a wild card ranked 140th in the world, the reaction from the Philippine sports community wasn't casual interest. It was collective investment. It felt like the arrival of someone to rally around, not just for one match or one tournament, but as a long-term presence on the global stage. The rumors around a potential signature collection tied to Nike make a lot more sense when you look at the bigger picture. Brands don't build signature lines for players sitting at number 32 in the rankings. They do it for athletes who cross over,
whose identity, story, and reach extend well beyond the sport itself. And that's the signal here. If those conversations are happening this early in Alex Eala's career, before a WTA title, it tells you how the commercial side is reading her trajectory. They're not waiting for trophies. They're responding to visibility, engagement, and cultural pull. That same idea showed up when Sam Querrey mentioned her on the Nothing Major podcast. His comment spread quickly because it hit a nerve. The suggestion that Eala might currently be generating more global curiosity than Aryna Sabalenka.
Coming from someone who spent years inside the top 10, that's not just noise. Querrey has seen how crowds behave, how attention shifts, and how rare it is for a player outside the very top tier to command this kind of interest. When he makes that kind of comparison, it's less about ranking and more about recognizing that something unusual is unfolding in real time. The marketing departments didn't plan this. The fans did. And right now, they're reorganizing themselves around a practice court in Miami, while tournament officials quietly try to manage something their playbook never accounted for. When a practice session pulls more attention than actual matches happening nearby, that's not a small anomaly. It's a signal the sport can't ignore. Alex Eala isn't waiting for the WTA to catch up to what's happening. The audience has already made that call.